not really surprised by the court's ruling.
Why?
Yeah, for the reason is that this is kind of expected, so at least based on what I have, followed as far as this story goes.
It was notable that what they're pursuing is not so much the alleged violations of the U.S. sanctions on doing business with Iran, but rather accusations of fraud. Can you explain the difference, and does that make Meng's defense more difficult?
I think these two are related. So Meng Wanzhou, at least Meng Wanzhou's company has been accused of, being fraudulent or being not being truthful when the, at least one of the subsidiary companies, because that subsidiary company was suspected of doing business with Iran. And when Meng Wanzhou was making the presentation to SBC, and apparently she did not, whether she's aware of the fact or not, she was not disclosing the fact. So that's I think these two are definitely related.
And the Canadian court said that the fraud terms do extend to the U.S. Would you agree?
I'm not a legal expert, so I don't think I could, fully comment on that. But apparently, based on what I have read so far, this is considered, what the accusation against Meng Wanzhou by the U.S. also considered a crime in Canada. So that's the court ruling.
In terms of the trial, what's next? What's the timeline? Do you think an extradition to the U.S. is now certain, and if so, what would happen?
I don't think the extradition for Meng Wanzhou to the U.S. is certain. I think this case is going to drag on for a longer while. At the same time, there's different phases. I think Meng Wanzhou has to go through in Canada first. So of course, it also depends on the political dynamics between the different countries involved in this case.
How do you think this further complicates U.S.-China relations?
Well, as far as I can tell, I mean, this case is more symbolic than anything else. So because if you look at the bottom of the case, what Meng Wanzhou has been accused of actually has not much to do with U.S. concerns regarding Huawei as a technology company, as a global technology company. So this case is definitely more symbolic. I think, although it's symbolic, but I think this will further strain the relationship between U.S. and China that's already quite tense.
And you deal with businesses, Chinese businesses. What message does this send to Chinese businessmen and women who are thinking, like Meng Wanzhou, to transit or travel to Canada?
Actually, even before this, before Meng Wanzhou was arrested, I think that the relationship between, at least the U.S. and China is already being strained. So, and after Meng Wanzhou's arrest, I think a lot of business people, at least on the China side, they were starting to be concerned about whether the same thing going to happen to them or not. Whether their concern is justified or not, I cannot say, because it really depends on who we are talking about. But somehow the message, at least as perceived from the China side, is that the U.S. is not being friendly.
Should China do anything here in response to this ruling?
Well, I don't know whether China should do anything like in retaliation against it, just for for this case's sake. But I personally don't advocate like a tit for tat kind of approach. So whatever retaliatory measures China needs to take has to be justified on their own, in their own right.
All right, Zhang from Dow Ventures.